Okay, so I'm going to assume by now most of you have already seen this music video and song. I actually saw it 3 years ago when she released it, but it never occurred to me to make a video. I actually commented on it, and I thought about making a video kind of like debunking all the messages that she put in the music video, and there are a lot. Somebody made a list of all of the hidden messages in the song, and we're going to go through each one and take a look at them. I think it's okay if I have the sound on because I'm not going to play the video in its entirety. We're going to skip through. So let's start here. At 3 seconds, the theme park is called Oblivia. Now here's the funny thing about this. Many of her hidden messages are actually very oblivious. So I know what Katy is trying to do. She's trying to say that if you don't see the things in the theme park, you're oblivious. But what it's closer to in terms of reality is that the things in the theme park are oblivious because they're wrong. The next one is at 22 seconds, says comments on everyone's obsession with social media. This one is absolutely true for once. Now, like I said, some of them are true, and this is one of them. Yeah, people are unbelievably obsessed with social media, taking pictures of themselves and, trying to make their lives look amazing, even though people lie on social media, obviously. And people who post the most stuff on social media to make their lives look all great and glamorous are actually usually the most unhappy people. So this point is actually true, but it's also ironic coming from Katy Perry of all people. The next one is at 42 seconds. It says Katy Perry pricks her finger, showing that even if everything looks perfect, it is not what it seems. Now this one is absolutely true, but again, the message is backwards. What she's trying to say is that the messages that she shows in this music video are the things that seem perfect. But in reality, SJWism is the thing that seems perfect to a lot of people these days, but is actually destroying our culture. So the next one we're looking at is at 48 seconds. The roller coaster separated by sex, reinforcing a heteronormative lifestyle. So here we are, we're trying to say that this is bad. Why do people always talk about, well, at least now, people talk about how gender roles and all this stuff is a bad thing, but it's really not, okay? I understand that there are certain things that should not be defined by gender. For example, people should not be hired for a job based on gender. But in general, we have to acknowledge that men and women are simply different. There are things men can do that women can't. There are things that women can do, but men can't. That's just life. The fact is, there's nothing wrong with saying that women can do that stuff and men can do this stuff. We're different. Haven't you ever heard the saying, men are from Mars and women are from Venus? It's, well, not literally true, but the slogan is trying to say, like, we are simply different. Men and women are not meant to be the same, both mentally, psychologically, emotionally, biologically. We're not meant to be the same. So by saying that we're separate or different is not a sexist thing. It's just the way the world works. Next thing we're looking at is 107. An amusement park shows houses falling, referring to the fall in the housing market. This is absolutely true. I mean, part of my video where I said, we're living in the worst time in history is also the housing market. That's one of the many reasons why we're living in a shitty time. Because housing and rent is at the highest it's ever been, and so is cost of living and pretty much everything involving money. This one is true. Thank you, Katy. Next, we are looking at 120, everyone's obsession with social media gratification. That is absolutely true, but I mean, we already talked about this earlier in the music video with the people taking pictures of themselves. It's exactly the same thing, just in a different way. She's going through the tunnel with all the emojis lighting up, and that is the way people are. It's a very sad thing that people are like this, but yes, people do think that getting likes on an Instagram picture is like the most important thing today. And for today's standards, it is important, but in reality, it's not. Online gratification means nothing in the real world, and it's something that a lot of people today just don't understand. At 1:30, the sign says 1984. It's right there. A possible link to the 1984 novel, which describes a dystopian society where people are constantly monitored. This one is absolutely true. 1984 is a very important and good book that everybody should read. The next thing we're looking at, and a very important one that we need to talk about, is right here at 137. Katy's male counterpart gets a much higher validation score for doing the same thing as her, a woman. Now I'm going to put the phone down because this one will require a big explanation. So the first thing is, let's talk about social media, because these numbers do look like likes. And I don't think anybody, even the dumbest SJW, I don't even think they would disagree that on average, people on social media, when they upload a picture or a video, women always, it can be the hottest man or the ugliest woman, the woman will always, 100% of the time, there is no room for error here. It is 100%, not 99, not 99.9, 100% of the time, women will always get more acknowledgement and likes on their pictures. Always. There is no argument here, no debate. But this could have a secondary meaning, which is also very important. Talking about the wage gap. Now, this is another thing that is clearly oblivious, because the wage gap has already been debunked numerous times. And when I say numerous, I mean it's been debunked hundreds of times. The first time the wage gap was ever debunked, it was actually debunked by a feminist, and we still pander this bullshit. Also, if you talk to any economist, they will tell you that the wage gap is absolute bullshit. I also made a video that I think you should all watch. It's right here. It's called Truth About Feminism and Male Oppression. It's a very great video I made debunking everything that is wrong, which is most things, about feminism. One of those things is, in fact, the wage gap. And you should definitely watch my video if you want a debunking on the wage gap, but also everything feminist. I'm not going to do it in this video because I've already done it. If you think the wage gap is real, as well as other feminist talking points, please watch this video right here to be fully educated. But back to the video. The main point is, this one is absolutely wrong. This is nothing more than an SJW talking point. It is a myth. It has already been debunked. And for her to put this into her music video about the secret evils of the world, it's almost like, I almost feel like I want to tell myself, no, the evil she's talking about is that the SJWs are lying. But no, what she's trying to say is that the wage gap is real and that's evil. Unfortunately, it's not real, and Katy is a fucking idiot for putting this in her video. This next one is at 146. It says, there's no place like home, visible right here, throws people back on the fence, an obvious allusion to Trump's immigration ban/wall. Now, this one I find really interesting because it's throwing people over the wall and says there's no place like home. It's almost like you're insinuating that going home is better. But if you're trying to make this point anti-Trump, you're doing it really backwards. If you're trying to go against Trump, the sign should actually say American Dream or something, and then throwing people to the other side. That would be a better metaphor for being anti-Trump, because putting no place like home and then sending them home is a very pro-Trump wall statement. But anyway, this one here at 215 says, Hell H2O seems to comment on the world's dependence on oil and its impact not only on the environment but also on our own bodies. You can see she's at a gas station and she drinks a cup of either gasoline or oil or something. This one is actually true. Oil most certainly does destroy our environment. There's no argument here. Okay, now this one we're actually going to watch. Now, as far as the hamster wheel is concerned, the person commented this: a hamster wheel that a white man seems to navigate successfully is incredibly difficult for a black and an Asian. Now, this one is we need to talk about as well. It's alluding to the other myth known as white privilege. It is utterly fucking stupid. White privilege has already been debunked many times by many people. It is a total myth. I've made many videos on my channel talking about how, in fact, white people do not have an advantage. In fact, in modern day, the advantage is actually given to black people. I would strongly suggest going to my channel as well. I made a video, it's actually very recent as well, it's a remake video, called White People Are Under Attack. Go to my channel and watch that video for a full debunking on the concept of white privilege and proving that black privilege does exist. This whole thing about the hamster wheel and the white people are all running on it without any problem, but the black people are falling off the wheel, is completely wrong and stupid. There is no such thing as white privilege. This is more of Katy Perry's oblivion. So let's move on to this next one. At 240, it says, society giving roles to women and men. The typical housewife and the husband reading the news. So this one is basically alluding to I guess, the American dream, or the typical 1950s, 1960s family where the man is working, and in that particular clip reading the paper, and the woman is doing the regular house chores like ironing, cooking, cleaning, laundry, whatever. This one is true, but completely irrelevant for a number of reasons. The first reason why it's irrelevant is because it's 2020, well, 2017 when this video was made, and she's showing what the world was like in 1950. No one is denying that the world was like that in 1950, and it's not really like that anymore. Today, see, here's the funny thing, like, equality is dead today because men are more oppressed than women are, but at the same time, we actually are moving more towards equality. But we're not, but we are. Like, men face more oppression, but we're gaining equality in the sense that there's a lot more women working, there's a lot more men doing housework in that way. But in terms of oppression, there is less equality. But the point I'm trying to make is that to bring up this point at all is just meaningless. Because again, first of all, it was a point that was true 70 years ago. But also, I made this video that I think you guys should also check out. It's called A Housewife Attacked for Being Traditional. Basically what this video is, a housewife, a very typical housewife, we're talking about a woman who enjoys taking care of herself because, as you know, feminists today think that it's important to be dirty and not wax themselves and things like that. But the woman in this video that I'm talking about is a very traditional woman. She likes doing the housework. She likes cooking for her husband and taking care of her kids, things like that. And she was happy with her life. And I'll get to that in a second. But basically, you guys have to see this video, okay? The people who were commentating on her on the news were saying things like, you know, how dare she do things like take care of her family? How dare she be happy and not miserable? You know, how dare she enjoy her life? You know, typical feminist shit, right? And as we all know, feminists are all miserable. This picture right here of the woman that we're talking about right now, Katy Perry, her little before and after proves it. In her song, she even says, "Wasted zombie." Yeah, well, I think you look more like a zombie in your fucking feminist picture, your after picture there, Katy. But anyway, the point I'm trying to make is that in this video, they're going on saying, you know, how dare you be happy and how dare you be a typical housewife? You should be miserable like all other feminists. And the reason I say that, by the way, is because multiple studies have actually been done that showed that women's peak happiness was in the 60s. Yeah. Because although it is technical equality for women to join the workforce and for men to do housework, or at least both people doing it, that way you're truly equal, like women and men both do housework and women and men both go to work, the truth is, most women, if you were to actually sit down an average woman and ask her, what do you prefer to do? Never mind what social stereotypes tell you, social constructs, gender stereotypes. Tell me what you personally want. Would you prefer to go to work 5 days a week, a typical boring-ass 9-to-5 job? Or would you rather stay home and do housework and take care of your kids? What do you truly prefer? Most women would actually prefer to stay home because that's what the facts showed. Women were happiest in the 60s when they were primarily mostly housewives as opposed to joining the workforce. Women's peak happiness was in the 60s, and studies also show that women's least happy time is actually now. Now, an SJW might say something like, well, yeah, because women are so oppressed and they notice it now, that's why they're so miserable. That's actually not true. Feminism in general has just caused women to become miserable, as well as doing things that women didn't used to do as much, like join the workforce. So this point is irrelevant because women's happiness was actually at their highest during the time that Katy Perry is depicting in her music video. Studies have actively proven this, and it just makes Katy's video look even dumber. Okay, this next one is at 250, but I'm starting at 245 so we can see what the video shows. Katy is the only person able to see the nuclear family video being played to see the darkest truth behind it. It is my desire. So again, what they're depicting here is that before the part that I played, it showed like nuclear family on the TV and everyone just kind of like bobbing their head to it, but Katy's like, oh no, this is terrible. But again, what Katy is depicting in a lot of this video are just mythical feminist SJW lies. If you want to show the evils of the world, What Katy should be showing in this video is how SJWs have completely destroyed society over the last 7 years and made everything way worse. Hence why we are living in one of the worst times in history and why people's happiness in general is at its lowest of all time. So what we see at the end here is her actually succeeding on the hamster wheel. Now this one is ridiculous because what she's trying to say is, I'm a woman and I succeeded, maybe there's hope for the future, like the last comment said. But the irony in the fact that she's a white woman, I'm surprised that she didn't like put herself in blackface just to make that statement. But either way, it's wrong. As I've already said in my video, the truth about feminism and male oppression, I go into all the evidence needed, all the facts needed to prove that women are actually have more privileges than men do in the first world, and men are far more oppressed than women are. So this is completely fucking stupid, and it's just peddling and pandering to the system, which is ironic because she thinks, as well as her fans in the comments, actually believe that this video is going against the system. Yet very few things in this video are actually against the system. Things like 1984 were pretty much the only anti-system things, actually. Virtually every other point in this video was just regular SJW feminist talking points like white privilege and wage gap and things like that. It's unbelievable that she genuinely believes that this video was anti-system. This video actually supports the corrupted system. The corrupted system, like the mainstream media and everything, they peddle, they pander to beliefs like white privilege and blacks are victims and feminism and wage gap and women are oppressed, and those are all things that the system supports. And it's unbelievable that there are comments in the video saying things like, "Thank you, Katy, for saying the truth about how awful the system is." These are points that support the system. These are not anti-system points. They're not. These are all things that the mainstream media says. Are you going to tell me now that CNN is against the system? Are you like... That's how I know that the majority of the comments are just from young kids who are just learning about SJWism because they're forced to, and they're probably led to believe that SJWism is like the movement to go against the system. Therefore, they think her video is, when in reality, like most things today, is the total opposite. You know, this video and what she's trying to do with the metaphors would actually be really awesome, and the song is fantastic. The problem is that the metaphors are in the wrong direction, like I've been saying. If this video was actually giving metaphors and facts about why SJWism is wrong, and showing real facts and really was against the system, and not supporting it, this would probably be one of my favorite music videos ever. Because the simple fact is the song is great, but the video goes against the lyrics. I mean, there's even one part of the song during the rap when the rapper literally says, Skip Marley, when Skip Marley literally says, "Time is running out for the empire," or something like that. But again, almost every point in the video is protecting the corrupted empire. Anyway, that's the real truth about this video.